coming to you from Jezero crater on the surface of Mars. This is Mr. C.
7th, 8th grade, happy Thursday to you. You know how I've been trying to bring guests by, for a little visit. So another guest. So who is it? Who is it? Batman. It's Batman. And my grandson Xander is a big Batman fan. So I was quizzing him about Batman's abilities. And it ties right into our test. So I didn't even know this about Batman. Did you know this about Batman? What? Did you know? I didn't really know this because, Mr. C, how many Batman movies have you seen? What's your hypothesis? 0. So anyway, I didn't know this characteristic Batman possessed, that he's really good at solving crimes and using the scientific method. Gathering data, making conclusions. I didn't know that. So it's a perfect tie-in to the scientific method, because how many points on the scientific method in your semester exam? I think there's, 6 maybe. So make sure you look over the scientific method. Really, really important. Say bye to Batman. Bye, everybody. Good luck on your semester exam. Okay, so anyway, tomorrow I wonder who our visitors will be. So anyway, I did ask my grandson really quick if Batman had echolocation abilities, but he didn't think so. Like bats. I'm just saying. So, by the way, don't forget about divine designs. Be ready to drop some divine designs on me on the exam. The name of the living thing, the organism, and its designs that God has given it. So be ready for that. Okay? Now, be ready tomorrow to turn your journal in. So do tomorrow, right? So get that baby in. Turn it in at the end of the day. It would be better if you've only partially done it. Maybe to turn it in, you have to kind of use your brain and go, how much have I done? Because what happens is if it comes in late, you automatically drop 25%. You're already down to a 75. So anyway, do some thinking about it. So don't forget your 3x5 or 4x6 card. In fact, are you filling yours out already? Based on what I've already told you, tips on the test. So, and anyway, both 7th and 8th grade, I'm just telling you right now that you're going to each have to write 2 verses. So, and then explanations of those verses. There is flood, ark, and animal questions. A lot of creation, evolution questions. How many? It looks like about 10. Superpower info, it looks like maybe half a dozen. Scientific method, there it is right there. So it looks like 6 on the scientific method. Metric system, a lot of points. 13 points on the metric system. And you had better study your study guide on the metric system. And you'd better know the King Henry. Okay, so dial the King Henry in if you haven't got it. So 8th grade, you're getting chemistry and physics. Quite a few questions. 8th grade, you're getting let's see, how many is it? 8th grade, I think you're getting 10 element names where you've got to know the symbol and the characteristics. So there's 10 points on that. So 6th grade, you've got some chemistry too, 6 points. 6 elements from the periodic table. So I'm going back and forth. 7th grade, you have a boatload of, let's see how many, 20 points on rocks and minerals. Whew. Volcanoes. You've got about 10 points on volcanoes, 7th grade. So I'm just letting you know. And then 8th grade, all the things I've already mentioned. And then chemistry, how many points? 51 to 79. On chemistry, 8th grade, really emphasize it. So we're talking like 28 points. And then both of you SSRs, physics, physics about 18 points. So anyway, there's a few clues. I didn't tell you everything, but so, and you're going to hear daughter Laura talk to you about your magnificent brain, and she highlighted some things. How many points on your magnificent brain? Let's see. I can do the math here. I can do it. 8 points on your magnificent brain, both 7th and 8th. So anyway, so pay attention to her concluding remarks today. Okay? And you'll really, really want to make sure you pay attention. Okay? Did I mention 6 points on the scientific method? 6 points, scientific method. Okay? So anyway, emphasize both 7th and 8th. Emphasize this study guide, the one that has your magnificent brain on the cover. That doesn't mean you don't read through the quarter 3 questions. Read through those. So, just so you're ready, and emphasize this one, the first study guide I handed out. The information here is chockers, as they say down under. Chockers with test question information. Chockers means loaded, really full. Chockers, chocker block, they say down under, or chockers for short. They like to shorten things down under. So your semester exam, both 7th and 8th grade, is chockers, full of semester exam question information on this one, and especially the fourth quarter one, fourth quarter. So anyway, have a look at all that. So you saw the polar bear and all of its really cool divine designs, yeah? The polar bear, just amazing. And did you know polar bears don't have white fur? It's actually kind of a yellowish, but actually their skin is black. Who would have thought? Their skin is black. And they have hollow hairs that allow light to come down and hit that black skin, and the heat's absorbed and it keeps them warm. Super thick fur, super amount of body fat, and they're the biggest bear of all, even bigger than the Alaskan brown bears. So they are big guys. So now, hey, how'd you like the ultimate rides that you saw for 2 minutes? Did you see that drop ride where you free fall into that net? How much chance is there, Mr. C, that you'd ever go on that? 0. Oh my, that has to be a freaky thing. So thumb up, how many of you though would like something like that? You'd go on that drop ride where they drop you into the net. I think you guys saw that. Okay, thumb up if you are a hyper coaster rider. You love the really big coasters. There's no such thing as a roller coaster that's too big or too fast for you. Thumb up. Some of you hyper coaster people, your brain is wired differently than mine. Yes, it is. Daughter Laura is going to go over a lot of tips for the final, so I'd really pay attention. I'd have that magnificent brain out, and one of Laura's specialties is neuroscience. That means how the brain works. And God designed it. God designed our brains. Neuroscience is all about how God designed our brains, the amazing way he designed them, and the way he designed them to remember. So anyway, pay attention to what she says about neuroscience, from like nerves, your nervous system, including your brain and how it operates. Really cool stuff. Okay, Mr. C and Batman give you a fond adieu, and I will see you on the last Happy Aloha Friday of the year. Bring your Kleenex, okay? Praying for you. Probably a stressful time. Love you. Hang in there. Use grit. Come on. Dig deep. Use your grit. See you tomorrow.
Hi, this is our final Your Magnificent Brain, Learning with Laura. And what I wanted to do today was just talk about the study guide and what's on there and how it fits within the context of what we've learned kind of throughout the course of the class. But I wanted to also note that the study guide very specifically has certain words highlighted and underlined usually. Those words that are highlighted, I want you to know. That's the ones that we've identified as important for you to know. So on the test, those will be the words that you're expected to write down or remember. So the first one on your study guide relates to memory. It relates to building connections and pathways in your brain to information. When we talked about that, we talked about ways in which you could do that through note-taking, through drawing pictures of the concepts in your notes, to studying them with a friend, teaching them to someone else, reviewing them with flashcards, even recording the lecture either from auditory or from video and playing it back. Any of those things helps to create and strengthen connections or pathways, both are correct, in your mind so that they're more easy for you to recall. The next one is mindfulness. It's the idea that what we tell ourselves about our experiences and about who we are and the world around us, that has a big impact on how we think. So listen to what it is you tell yourself, the messages that you tell yourself. And when you need to, challenge those, reframe them, because the ways that we talk to ourselves often are taken from things outside of ourselves, how other people talk to us, or how we've been told we need to think about something. For instance, the idea that every time you make a mistake that, oh no, I've made a mistake, this is, I'm never going to be good at this. All of those things, those are messages you can challenge and just remind yourself, mistakes are how I learn. That's how I improve. So those are the types of messages that I'm talking about. But the important thing in that section is listen to the messages that you tell yourself. And when you reframe them, be kind. Speak to yourself as you would a friend that you're kind of trying to give guidance to. Often we speak to ourselves in ways that we wouldn't talk to anyone else, and I challenge you to rethink how it is you talk to yourself. Creativity is something that's useful in pretty much every aspect of our lives. And we have the capability of being creative, each and every one of us. There aren't creative people and non-creative people. We all have the capacity to be creative. But we have to develop it with practice. And that's where we talk about creativity is a skill. It's something that you work on. It's something that you learn by doing over and over and over and over again. You strengthen it through use, as you would if you're strengthening muscles by lifting weights. So by using creativity, by thinking outside the box, that's how we get better at being creative. So that's the kind of abstract side of creativity. The next one is the practical side of creativity, how it works. We create from what it is that's already in our minds, information that we already have at our fingertips. So one, it's good to make sure that we learn whatever we can, that we pay attention to the world around us, because that gives more ideas, more concepts for us to make connections to in our minds. But how we create from it is by bending information that we have, looking at it a different way, putting a different lens on it, maybe shifting it slightly, breaking it, breaking ideas apart, breaking them down into steps or down into specific concepts, sometimes boiling it down to just the simple pieces at the heart of it that make up what it is. Or blending ideas together. That's how we create anything. And in fact, in all aspects, in science, in art, in music, if you actually were to look at what it is that they created, you could see what the areas were that inspired that new, inventive, innovative idea. So we're all inspired by things around us. The next one is stick-to-itiveness. The idea that as you move and work towards a goal, that level of motivation, that level of perseverance actually is a better predictor of what your success will be than your skill or your talent level. And so grit is that passion and that perseverance to continue working on something past the point that others would normally give up, past the point where it gets difficult, past the point where it feels like I can't accomplish this, it's outside what I can do. It's sticking with it and continuing to take those steps forward. So grit, having that passion and perseverance. The next one is really just learning, and that it's kind of connected to the grit side of things, in that it's when things get hard, when something challenges you in certain ways and you potentially make mistakes and you potentially make errors, or you have a situation in which you fail. It's learning from those experiences. It's continuing to move forward, and it's taking on experiences where you don't know what the outcome will be. You're not certain that you'll be successful, but it's trying. I was reminded of the quote from Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, where you have a character say, "Why do we fall?" And the response is so that we can learn to pick ourselves back up. And I think there's something really profound there in learning that we'll fail. We all do. I know I certainly have. But when you see it as an opportunity to learn something about where you need to focus, where you need to gain expertise, where you need to do more practice on, then you use that experience in order to make yourself stronger in certain ways. And then the next one really focuses on having a growth mindset. We've talked about having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A growth mindset being seeing yourself as someone who's in the process of transformation, who's developing, who may not be somewhere yet, but has the capacity to get there. A fixed mindset basically thinks of yourself as, I am this way and there's no changing. But a growth mindset sees the opportunity, the ability to take action today and knowing that it will have an impact on tomorrow. So recognizing that you are constantly in a state of development and transformation, and that by choosing to actively invest in yourself, in your own growth development, by investing your time and your effort or your energy, both of those are accurate, you can put those things into areas where you want to level up and areas that you want to explore and just see what happens. And then lastly, we get back down to your superpower, which there's a reason why we focused on this so much throughout the year. Your superpower is quite literally you. It is your magnificent brain. It is the brain that God gave you, however it works, and exactly how it works, exactly how the things that you are able to do, your interests, your abilities, wherever, your talents right now, but also that potential for the future, wherever you choose to develop, explore, expand yourself into. And the unique ways in which you see the world, the unique ways in which you think, all of that is the gift that you specifically bring to this world. There's no one just like you with your experiences, with your unique viewpoint. And the reason why I wanted to end on that is just really reiterating that however your brain works, however you think, however you have been gifted and choose to develop yourself or choose to level up, those things are important. Those things have value, even if they're not necessarily openly valued by the world. They all have value to it. And one, own that. Two, also work on exploring and expanding your potential, your experience. Find the unique ways in which you can bring your unique viewpoint to bear on the world, in which you can share those gifts with the world and hopefully make it a better place. I wanted to end with, though, if at all you're interested in furthering your education on the brain and how it works. I mentioned before that my area of expertise is in psychology and in education and how we learn. Psychology is really the human mind and how it functions, and then how that has an impact on behavior. So how those two are interconnected. So psychology would be a great place to start, even just seeing TED Talks about different aspects of psychology, taking a Psych 101 class at some point. But it's some place to start and kind of learn more about how your brain and your behavior interact with each other. There's also neuroscience, which looks at the nervous system and your brain and how kind of those neural pathways work together in our bodies. It kind of looks more at not necessarily on behavior, but how the system itself functions, which is fascinating. And I've actually read several different authors who are neuroscientists who have a lot of interesting things to say about creativity. It's a really interesting place to start, and that's actually where I got my bending, breaking, and blending kind of system of creativity. There's also looking at mindfulness, the study of mindfulness, which is really being aware of where you're at currently in the present space, having that awareness of the present, and also a an acknowledgement and kind of that attention to what you're feeling, with what you're thinking, and kind of what you're experiencing without any judgment of what it is that's going on. That's part of the messaging things that I've mentioned. That's part of mindfulness, is really paying attention to the messages that you tell yourself calmly and without judgment, but then also reframing them when you need to, saying something else to yourself, which can help change how you think. And then also philosophy. I've taken several classes on philosophy, reasoning, and logic, which looks at the way our brains make decisions and evaluates evidence that we are presented with, and kind of looks at how that process works and how some of that could be actually used against us, how some of those kind of shortcuts of decisions that our brains make could be used in unique ways that don't always get attention. So all of those are just different areas that you could potentially explore or learn more about as time goes on. A very happy end of semester to you all, and congratulations to the 8th graders who are about to graduate. I wish you absolutely all the best moving forward, and remember that you are constantly in a place of development and transformation. Invest in yourself.